Homeowner calls authorities after seeing an unexpected sight while evicting his tenant. A homeowner faced his worst nightmare when he went to his tenant's house to get him to move out. The house had changed a lot in the last 4 years. It was dirty, stinky, and was housing something unbelievable. The owner entered the house with a racing heart. The man had never expected that he would have to involve authorities into the matter soon after opening the door of the house. This Kansas City homeowner remained in the dark for 4 years. The man had no idea what was living inside his house for 4 years. He opened the door of the house that seemed vacant from the outside. The man could not help but scream in fear when he laid his eyes on what was waiting there for him. The owner had come to vacate the house. No doubt, evicting someone from the house is not an easy task. He had to boot out the tenant of the house. But little did he know at the time the eviction was going to take a horrific turn and would involve authorities soon enough. No doubt, getting someone out of the house is an arduous task, and no one likes to do it even if they want to. The landlord came to the house with a heavy heart. He was ready to take legal action if he needed to. It was not only tiring but also can be challenging, even if you opt legally. The experience of eviction is not a beautiful one, both for the tenant and the landlord. The homeowner had not done this before, but now it was already too late. Not to forget that legal evictions involves negative interactions, unpleasant meetings, and countless days wasted in court. The forceful eviction is not a good experience for the landlord and the tenant. Here the tenant felt as if his nightmare had come true when he saw the landlord at his door. He never thought his secret would come out this way. In no time, the entire premises was surrounded by the sheriff and army officials. The man moved to his front door after gathering all his strength. He was willing to take out everything that was there in the house. However, things turned around once he realized the gravity of the situation. Along with the sheriff and a swarm of officials, the landlord stood before the front door of the house. People who were living around the house, too, came in the front to help in removing possessions. However, no one had the courage to go inside the house. The house was locked for many years, so an old smell came out just after they opened the house. The sunlight slipping in through the cracks of the window was revealing some part of the house. The place was quiet like the dead. Booting a tenant out is in itself very challenging. Plus, the house was giving away weird vibes. The house was not like any other house. Not only did it have a threatening feel, it also seemed like a door to a different world. Its weirdness had crossed all the limits. The house looked all normal and quiet from the outside. The landlord and the authorities began to suffocate in the moist and stinking air of the house. There was another odor, too, mixed with the smell of the house. The odor was an unfamiliar one and gave chills to him. Nevertheless, he kept on moving toward the room painted in red. While approaching the room, he wondered if he had made a mistake by coming all alone in this house. Not only the owner, but the authorities, too, were clueless about what they were going to find in the room. Clearly, there was a noise coming out of the room, and there was someone inside of the room for sure. The presence of the stranger and this unbearable smell added to the fear. The landlord finally opened the door and got a surprise of a lifetime. This eviction had taken an inexplicable turn now. It did not involve humans now, but a swarm of beasts, too. Now the authorities had to follow a different strategy to make this eviction safe. The tenant was seeing everything happen right before his eyes. He was scared but had no remorse of any sort. The man was standing outside the house, angry and helpless. He explained to the camera crew everything about the strange finding and how he kept it a secret for so long. The tenant said it all with confidence and without fear. Renting the house is not as easy as it seems. Imagine handing over your house to a stranger for years. You don't know whether they would take good care of the house or not. There are contracts that prohibit tenants from even putting nails into the wall so that the owner would not have to go through the pain of repairing any artwork or structure. Here, Sean Casey was way over the line. It all seemed like a dream. The owner had blood ran cold when he saw red liquid sliding off a cutting board. This was not it. There was some more in the refrigerator. Those in the refrigerator were yet to go under the night. So what had been stinking to high hell was nothing but raw meat. Surprisingly, the meat was not going to be cooked. The meat was going to be used for a different purpose. Whereas the owner was in disbelief, Sean could not understand why people were making a big scene out of it. No one could gather the courage of walking into the living room, so they waited for help to arrive. The authorities arrived at the spot in a short while. The authorities started to hurl away all of Sean's belongings to the pavement. There was something terrifying in the middle of the room. The authorities saw a hot tub placed in the center of the living room. What's more, there was an alligator inside the tub. According to animal control, this was the largest alligator they had ever seen. It took a while for everyone present to accept what they were seeing. The alligator, unaware of what was happening, was floating peacefully in the tub. The 7-foot-long, 200-pound alligator had a name: Catfish. It had been staying with Sean for 4 years. However, the gator was only 11 inches long when Sean had brought it to the house. As if the alligator's presence in the house was not enough, there were some more heart-rendering sights waiting for people. The house was not only home to this alligator, but there were 3 more unexpected residents. There was a 6.5-foot-long ball python, too. This reptile is not aggressive by nature. They prefer staying aloof, curled up into a round ball. The house was also harboring a rabbit and a kitten. The authorities sent all the animals to separate wildlife sanctuaries. They believed sanctuaries to be the safest place for these animals. Like others, Catfish was also brought to Monkey Island Rescue and Sanctuary in Greenwood. The snake and rabbit were sent to KC Pet Project. They did allow Sean to keep the kitten, but now the man himself had no place he could call home. How was he going to take care of the kitten? Though the man did not know where he was going to stay, he wanted his gator back. Animal Control knew that there was no way they could remove Catfish on their own, so they decided to take help from an animal rescue group to displace him safely. James Donovan worked with KC Animal Control, said, "This thing was massive in size, and it took over 4 of us to handle it." Dana Savarelli, with Monkey Island Rescue in Greenwood, Missouri, said, "We put a snare pole around his neck, got him up to where I could get his mouth shut safely, and he rolled a little bit, which was good. Let him roll as much as he can, wear him out." Fortunately, no harm was caused to anyone, but Catfish apparently was not happy about leaving his house. The law of Kansas City does not allow a resident to keep exotic animals like alligators. Nevertheless, Sean is not going to back out. "I don't know what the procedure will be to get him back, but I'm going to fight to get him back," Sean resolved before the cameras. He did not stop there. The man had a lot to say. Savarelli further stated, "With the water, he was in about 18 inches deep, but he could get up and get out and cruise through the house. He had a ramp. The alligator was a big grown one." Sean was very disappointed and sad when he saw the workers taking his pet away. He had his own way of saying hi to people. "They're not big, ferocious animals like people think. They have personalities," described Sean. Sean went on to explain that Catfish eats only deer, fish, steak, and chicken nuggets. Sean even called Catfish a dog. Sean maintained he was like a dog. "I don't think he knew he was an alligator. I tell people all the time I've got an alligator who can swim. He is scared of the dark and scared of thunderstorms." Catfish strolls all around the house just like a dog. "I built him a ramp to get back in his tank because he's a big lizard. He was going to come out and play. He liked to come out and play. Oddly enough, he liked to come sit on my lap," recalled Sean. He told me about how unique it was that he built this, basically a pool in his living room, and he would fill it with water. Catfish was just sitting there like me and you are sitting here right now. He used to take Catfish through the McDonald's drive-thru line, and everybody knew who he was. He would sit right next to him, he clarified to the news crews. Sean is not going to let go of the gator, come what may. And when the story went viral, it turned out that there was a large fraction of population backing Sean. Everyone rooted for Sean and wanted Catfish to get back home. However, the wildlife worker, too, is not budging, as according to them, what they are doing is in the interest of Catfish. The wildlife worker defended their stance by saying it would be great for Catfish to stay with his owner because his owner is a wonderful caretaker. But at the end of the day, we are just looking for a place where Catfish doesn't have to move around. Attorney Lauren Sienna, the jungle law attorney, said, "I feel like when there is an exotic animal in Kansas City, it makes sense to call jungle law, so people tend to reach out to us." He also assured that the gator was very well taken care of. Tristan Woods, jungle law attorney, stated, "I knew he was passionate about this animal. He grew him up from 12 inches to almost 7.5 feet, now 200 pounds. He's very well kept. He said he kept him better than he does himself, and by looking at him, I think that is the truth." Alligators are known for being social creatures that reside in family-like situations. Now Sean was Catfish's family, as he had been living with Sean since birth, and now all of a sudden he was being taken away from Sean to a different place. No wonder you must have felt sad. Sierra said Catfish is a remarkable alligator because, you know from personal experience, he is pet-friendly. We just want to make sure that everything that's required in his lifestyle is available to him. Sean is not fighting this battle alone. He is being supported by thousands of people. Catfish had become an integral part of Sean's life. He found the reptile when he was just a kid, and they were together since then. Now having him taken away was very painful for both Sean and Catfish.